It was supposed to be a quiet evening. My boyfriend, Alex, and I had plans to watch a movie, just the two of us. But when I walked into the living room, I found him there, with my twin sister, Lily. They were sitting close, too close, and the look on Lily's face, it wasn't the look of a sister, it was the look of someone who had crossed a line. My heart stopped. This wasn't just a casual moment, this was betrayal, and what happened next shocked me to my core. Let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Emma, and Lily is my identical twin sister. We've always been close, too close, some might say. Growing up, we did everything together. We shared clothes, secrets, and even friends. But as we got older, things started to change. Lily became more competitive, always trying to one-up me, whether it was grades, sports, or even boys. I told myself it was just her way of dealing with the pressure of being a twin, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. Lily and I were inseparable, but we were also very different. I was the quieter one, the one who liked to stay in the background. Lily, on the other hand, thrived on attention. She was the life of the party, the one everyone noticed, and while I loved her for it, there were times when I felt like I was living in her shadow. Then I met Alex. He was everything I'd ever wanted in a boyfriend, kind, funny, and incredibly supportive. We'd been together for 2 years, and I thought we were happy. But looking back, I realized there were signs I missed. The way Lily would flirt with him, the way she'd always find excuses to be around us. At first, I told myself it was harmless. She was just being Lily. But as time went on, I started to notice something different. The way she'd look at him when she thought I wasn't watching, the way she'd touch his arm, his shoulder, always finding a reason to be close to him. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just my imagination. But deep down, I knew something was off. One night, about a month before the incident, I remember sitting on the couch with Alex, watching a movie. Lily walked in, wearing one of my dresses, the one Alex had complimented me on just a week earlier. She twirled around, pretending not to notice us, and said, "What do you think? Does it look better on me?" Alex laughed awkwardly, but I could see the way his eyes lingered on her. It made my stomach twist, but I brushed it off. "Lily, stop it," I said, trying to sound playful, but she just smirked and sat down next to Alex, closer than necessary. "Relax, Emma," she said. "I'm just teasing." But it didn't feel like teasing. It felt like a challenge. That night, after Lily left, I tried to talk to Alex about it. "Do you think Lily's acting weird around you?" I asked. He shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "I don't know, Emma. She's just being Lily. You know how she is." But his answer didn't reassure me. If anything, it made me more suspicious. The tension between us grew over the next few weeks. Lily seemed to be everywhere, at our apartment, at our favorite coffee shop, even at the gym where Alex worked out. It felt like she was inserting herself into every part of our lives. And Alex, he didn't seem to mind. In fact, he seemed to enjoy the attention. Then, one night, everything came to a head. Alex and I had plans to watch a movie, just the two of us. But when I walked into the living room, I found him there, with Lily. They were sitting close, too close, and the look on Lily's face, it wasn't the look of a sister, it was the look of someone who had crossed a line. My heart stopped. This wasn't just a casual moment, this was betrayal. And what happened next shocked me to my core. I stood there, frozen, as the reality of what I was seeing sank in. Lily and Alex were sitting on the couch, their heads close together, whispering. They hadn't noticed me yet, and for a moment, I thought about turning around and walking away, but I couldn't. I had to know what was going on. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice shaking. They both looked up, their eyes wide with surprise. "Emma," Alex said, his voice nervous, "we were just talking," but I could see the guilt in his eyes, and in Lily's. "Talking?" I repeated, my voice rising. "Is that what you call it?" Lily stood up, her face pale. Emma, it's not what it looks like, she said, her voice trembling, but I wasn't buying it. Then what is it, Lily? I demanded, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're betraying me. She didn't say anything, just looked down at the floor. And that's when I knew. They had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. I felt a rush of emotions, anger, hurt, betrayal. But more than anything, I felt a deep, aching sadness. How could they do this to me? How could Lily, my own sister, betray me like this? And Alex, how could he do this to me? I thought we were happy. I thought we were in love. But now I wasn't sure of anything. I took a step back, trying to steady my breathing. I can't believe this, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't believe you would do this to me. Alex stood up, his face filled with guilt. Emma, I'm sorry, he said. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. But his words only made it worse. A mistake? That's what he called it? A mistake that shattered my trust, my heart, and my relationship with my sister. I turned to Lily, my eyes filled with tears. How could you, Lily? I asked, my voice breaking. You're my sister, my twin. How could you do this to me? She didn't say anything, just looked at me with tears in her eyes. And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't just about Alex. This was about Lily, about her need to compete with me, to take what was mine, and I couldn't forgive her for that. I turned and walked out of the room, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know where I was going or what I was going to do. All I knew was that everything had changed, and I wasn't sure if I could ever go back. The days that followed were a blur. I avoided Alex and Lily, and they avoided me. The tension between us was palpable, and I could feel it every time we were in the same room. I tried to go about my life as usual, but everything felt off. I couldn't focus at work, couldn't sleep at night. All I could think about was what had happened and what it meant for my relationships with Alex and Lily. One evening, about a week after the incident, I was sitting on the couch, staring at the TV but not really watching it, when Alex walked in. Emma, he said, his voice soft, can we talk? I hesitated, but then nodded. I knew we needed to talk, even if I wasn't ready for it. We sat down on the couch, and for a long time, neither of us said anything. The silence between us was heavy, filled with all the things we weren't saying. Finally, Alex broke the silence. I'm sorry, he said, his voice trembling. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, and I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. I looked at him, my heart aching at the sincerity in his eyes, but I couldn't forgive him. Not yet. How could you do this, Alex? I asked, my voice breaking. How could you betray me like this? He didn't say anything, just looked down at the floor, and in that moment, I realized something. Alex wasn't the only one who had betrayed me. Lily had too, and I didn't know if I could ever forgive either of them. The next day, I confronted Lily. How could you do this to me? I asked, my voice filled with anger and hurt. You're my sister, my twin. How could you betray me like this? Lily looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, Emma, she said. I didn't mean to hurt you. I don't know what came over me. But her apology wasn't enough, not after what she'd done. I spent the next few weeks trying to make sense of everything. I talked to friends, went to therapy, and even tried to talk to Alex and Lily, but nothing helped. The betrayal was too deep, the hurt too raw, and I didn't know if I could ever move past it. But as time went on, I realized something. This wasn't just about Alex and Lily. This was about me, about my ability to trust, to forgive, and to move on. And I knew I had to make a choice. I could let this betrayal define me, or I could rise above it. And in the end, I chose to rise above it. One of the hardest parts of the aftermath was dealing with the questions from our friends and family. Everyone knew something was wrong, but no one knew the full story, and I wasn't ready to tell them. How could I explain that my own sister had betrayed me in the worst possible way? One day, my best friend Sarah came over to check on me. She could tell I wasn't myself, and she wasn't going to let me brush it off. "Emma, what's going on?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. "You've been avoiding everyone, and you look like you haven't slept in weeks." I hesitated, but then the words came pouring out. I told her everything. About Alex, about Lily, about the betrayal. And as I spoke, I could see the shock and anger in her eyes. "I can't believe they would do that to you," she said, her voice trembling. "How could they?" I didn't have an answer. I didn't know how they could do it either, but hearing Sarah's outrage made me feel a little less alone. It reminded me that I wasn't the one who had done something wrong. I was the one who had been hurt. But even with Sarah's support, I still felt lost. I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't know if I could ever trust Alex or Lily again, and I didn't know if I could ever forgive them. One night, about a month after the incident, I had a dream. In the dream, I was standing in a dark room surrounded by mirrors. In each mirror, I saw a different version of myself: angry, sad, broken. But in the center of the room, there was one mirror that was different. In that mirror, I saw myself as I used to be: happy, confident, whole. When I woke up, I realized something. The dream was a reflection of how I felt inside. I was broken, but I didn't have to stay that way. I could choose to heal. I could choose to move on. And that's what I decided to do. I decided to focus on myself, on healing, on growing, on becoming the person I wanted to be. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. But over time, I started to feel like myself again. I also started to think about Alex and Lily. I knew I couldn't just pretend nothing had happened. I needed closure. So one evening, I invited them both over to talk. When they arrived, the tension in the room was thick. No one knew what to say. Finally, I broke the silence. "I need to know why," I said, my voice steady. "Why did you do it?" Alex looked down at the floor, his face filled with guilt. "I don't know, Emma," he said. "I guess I got caught up in the moment. I didn't mean to hurt you." Lily, on the other hand, looked me straight in the eye. "I was jealous," she said, her voice trembling. "I've always been jealous of you. You're the strong one, the one who always knows what to do. And I guess I wanted to prove that I could have something you had." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had always known that Lily was competitive, but I had never realized how deep her jealousy ran. And in that moment, I felt a pang of sadness for her. She had let her jealousy destroy our relationship, and I didn't know if we could ever get it back. But I also knew that I couldn't let her jealousy define me. I couldn't let this betrayal define me. I had to move on. So I made a decision. I decided to forgive them, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. It wasn't easy, and it didn't mean that everything was okay, but it was a start. And as I looked at Alex and Lily, I realized something. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. I had been broken, but I was still standing, and that was enough. Forgiving Alex and Lily wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. The weeks and months that followed were a roller coaster of emotions: anger, sadness, hope, and eventually acceptance. I had made the decision to forgive them, but that didn't mean everything was magically fixed. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild, and when the person who broke it is your own twin sister, it's even harder. The first step was setting boundaries. I told Alex and Lily that I needed space, time to process everything and figure out what I wanted. They respected that, at least at first, but as time went on, it became clear that things between us would never be the same. Alex and I tried to make it work. We went to couples therapy, talked through our issues, and even went on a few dates to try to reconnect. But no matter how hard we tried, there was always this wall between us. I couldn't look at him without seeing the betrayal, and he couldn't look at me without seeing the hurt he had caused. Eventually, we both realized that we couldn't go back to the way things were. We had changed, and our relationship had changed. So, we made the difficult decision to break up. It wasn't easy, but it was the right thing to do. Lily, on the other hand, was a different story. She tried to reach out to me, to apologize, to explain herself, but every time I saw her, I felt that same pang of betrayal. It wasn't just about Alex, it was about the fact that she had crossed a line that should never have been crossed. One day, about 6 months after the incident, Lily showed up at my apartment unannounced. I hadn't seen her in weeks, and I wasn't sure I was ready to see her now, but she looked so desperate, so broken, that I couldn't turn her away. "Emma, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice trembling. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I can't lose you. You're my sister, my twin. You're a part of me." Her words hit me hard. I had spent so much time focusing on the betrayal that I had forgotten about the bond we shared. We had been through everything together: birthdays, holidays, heartbreaks, and despite everything, I still loved her. But love wasn't enough to erase the hurt. "Lily, I don't know if I can forgive you," I said, my voice breaking. "What you did, it changed everything." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know," she said, "and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry." Her apology didn't fix everything, but it was a start. Over time, we started to rebuild our relationship. It wasn't easy, and there were times when I wanted to give up, but we kept trying because we both knew that our bond was worth fighting for. As for Alex, we stayed in touch, but our relationship was never the same. We had both moved on, and while there was still love between us, it wasn't the kind of love that could sustain a relationship. The hardest part of the aftermath was learning to trust again. Not just Alex and Lily, but myself. I had spent so long questioning my instincts, wondering if I had missed the signs, that I had lost faith in my own judgment. But over time, I started to rebuild that trust. I started to listen to my gut again, to trust my instincts, and I realized that while I couldn't control what other people did, I could control how I responded. I also learned the importance of self-care. I started going to therapy, journaling, and practicing mindfulness. I surrounded myself with people who loved and supported me, and I focused on the things that made me happy. It wasn't a linear process. There were days when I felt like I was back at square one, days when the hurt felt as fresh as it had that night in the living room, but I kept going because I knew that I deserved to be happy. And slowly, I started to heal. The pain didn't go away completely, but it became more manageable. I started to see the betrayal not as something that defined me, but as something that had happened to me. One of the biggest lessons I learned was the importance of forgiveness, not just for the people who hurt you, but for yourself. Holding on to anger and resentment only hurts you in the end. Forgiveness is about letting go of the pain and choosing to move forward. I also learned that it's okay to set boundaries. Just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you have to let them back into your life in the same way. It's okay to protect yourself, to prioritize your own well-being. And finally, I learned that healing is a journey, not a destination. There's no timeline for how long it should take, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. The important thing is to keep moving forward, one step at a time. Now, a year later, I can look back on everything that happened with a sense of peace. I'm not the same person I was before the betrayal, but I'm stronger because of it. I've learned to trust myself, to stand up for myself, and to prioritize my own happiness. As for Alex and Lily, they're still a part of my life, but in a different way. Alex and I are friends, but we've both moved on. And Lily and I are closer than ever, but our relationship is different now. We've both grown, and we've both learned from our mistakes. This is my story. And this is how I reacted. It's not perfect, it's not clean, but it's real. And maybe, just maybe, it's a reminder that life is full of impossible choices. choices that test us, that break us, and that ultimately define who we are. I don't have all the answers, but I do know this. I made the choice I thought was right, and that's all any of us can do.